Another Raw video from your boy, Draft Raw Authentic. Yes, I am here. And like I said, this is a Raw video, so there will be no edits. Anyway, if you could tell by the title, then you know this is about the offensive tackle prospects in the 2018 NFL Draft. Now, earlier today, I made the top center prospects and the top guard prospects. Please check out those videos when you can. If this is the first video that you're seeing from me, this is what I do. I pretty much talk about the NFL Draft and purely the NFL Draft all throughout the season, during the season, before the season, which is now, and after the season. So please check out more of my vids. Anyway, this is about the offensive tackle prospects. And let's start off the guys that I think are the best prospects in this draft. Now, I did a lot of research on these guys. And the biggest criteria that I look for in tackles is that I'm always looking for the guys that are going to be left tackles in the league. Not the guys that will be right tackles, left tackles. The reason why I always look for the left tackles is because that's the most important position besides center on the offensive line. The left tackles are the ones that obviously help stop the best pass rusher. So anyway, that's the biggest criteria. So when I was looking at these guys, I was looking at who were the top names on the list. And I'm going to start off with the list of guys that I'm not so sure about, but they could still have a chance of being good in this league. So I'm not going to put the ones I think that's going to be best first. I'm going to talk about the ones that I'm a little bit so-so on. The first name on that list is Mike McGlinchey, from Notre Dame. Now, he's a guy that it's an inconsistency what I see. I see good blocks and I see bad blocks. It's never a consistent game in and out. Like, game here, he's good, then the next game he's bad, or during the first half of the game, he's really good. Second half, he's bad. Or during this play, he's good. And the next play, it's kind of bad or whatever. And it's not never like, oh my gosh, that's atrocious. But it's one of those things where you say, hey, this guy, for him to be the top tackle in the draft, he has to be like pure. He has to be like, there's not a lot of flaws with him. And he's a guy that has some flaws. And so he's a good player, but I won't put him up there as the best. That's why I'm so-so about him, but I still think that he could play in this league, especially at the left tackle position. The thing about him is that he will never, not to say he will never be a Pro Bowler, but the chances of him being a consistent Pro Bowler is not all that high. He's like a guy that will be like a DeBrickashaw Ferguson or Dwayne Brown. They've been in the league. Both those guys has been in the league for like 10 years. I know DeBrickashaw retired, but he had about 10, 11, 12 season. Dwayne Brown is going into his like 11th or 12th season. And both those guys are pretty good tackles, but they were never really considered the best. Only at like maybe two years of their whole career. 2 years they were considered one of the best, and they were like Pro Bowlers. So these were guys that were just middle of the pack. They weren't consistent. They weren't the recently retired Joe Thomas. So that's what I mean with Mike McGlinchey. He's going to be probably pretty good, but he's not going to be the consistent Pro Bowler. He's just going to be okay. He's going to give you some good blocks and good games, but there's going to be other games where he's going to go up against the Von Millers, let me put some new names out there, like the Bradley Chubbs or the Myles Garretts of the world, and he's just going to block them. No, it's not going to be that easy. Anyway, the next name on the list of the so-so is Orlando Brown Jr. from Oklahoma. Now, Orlando Brown Jr. is the son of former Ravens tackle Orlando Brown, a.k.a. Zeus. They're both pretty much kind of the same size. I think the senior was 1 inch shorter and about 20 pounds heavier. His son, was 1 inch taller, 20 pounds less than him. But they're pretty much the same size, and whatever. Anyway, but with Orlando Brown Jr., the thing about him is that I see him a lot of times. He's so hard to get around. And that's what makes him look pretty good when you look at the stats. But when you look at the tape, a lot of times it seems like he doesn't want to touch anybody. He just kind of waits for the person to come into him, and then he attacks. But he attacks after they attack. That's the biggest difference between him and his father, is that his father would attack the person while Brown would kind of wait for the attack. And that's not the best thing you want to be in. Now, I know he didn't give up no pressures this year, but I think that stat is a little bit over-exaggerated, because Baker Mayfield, on a good probably 60 or 70% of his throws was throwing it really, really quickly. So there's not going to be a lot of pressures. But then when it was chances for maybe there would be pressure, it was situations where Baker Mayfield would already had ran up the pocket. Or Baker, like the play was a boot where the whole offensive line go to one side plus the quarterback goes to that one side of the field. So there's really not a lot of actual blocking going on. It's just guys being in the way. And that's what I think about when I see Orlando Brown, as a guy that was in the way. Now, the combine, God, and then his pro day, here's the thing. And after that happened, I looked at Orlando Brown and I said to myself, whoa, he has no definition in his arms. And I thought to myself, like, why doesn't it look like he's actually strong? And that's a concern to me. The simple fact is that I know he's a big guy, but is he truly strong? And the reason why I say that is because I look at a guy like Terrence Cody that came from Alabama, probably one of the best defensive tackle prospects from Alabama that came out the year he came out, or just prospects in that draft. And what ended up happening is that he got pushed down because of the weight and all of that and the way he looked. But he's a guy that you thought would be pretty strong because he was big. But that's all he was. He was just big. That didn't make him strong. So he actually wasn't as good as what you thought he was in college, because it's just a different breed. It's a different animal when you get to the NFL. And he couldn't handle it. And that's where Orlando Brown, which I'm concerned about. And I'm not saying he won't be a good player, but as a left tackle, I'm not sure. I think he could probably play maybe guard, but he's kind of really, really tall. But I definitely knew right tackle, but you're still not sure about that. He's a guy that it's a question about him as a player, especially when I heard that somebody who actually knows the Orlando Brown family says that he's kind of soft and he's not like his father. I have to say that. I apologize if anybody's offended by that with me saying that, but someone mentioned that and I heard it, and I just have to say that he's definitely not his father when it comes to aggressiveness. And that's something that if there's anything that will deteriorate him becoming a good player in the league, that will be something. The next name on the list, though, I have to keep it going, is Connor Williams from Texas. Now, when I first saw him, I thought guard. And especially the first game of the season, he played against Maryland, and he didn't look that great. Now, there were some blocks where he did look pretty good, but there was other blocks he didn't. And then I saw some other tape of him, and I was like, oh, he's not too bad. But I still think that this dude would make a really, really good guard. And the 33-inch arms that he does have kind of sentiments that opinion. Now, arm length and the measurables don't matter too much, but you kind of do want a left tackle to have 34-inch arms. Now, there is guys in the league like Joe Thomas, who's a Hall of Famer, that had like 32-inch arms, and I believe Teron Armstead has like 33-inch arms, and he's a left tackle of the Saints, and they're pretty good players. Not all players are going to be that great like that. Now, he is one of the more athletic players that are coming out in this draft, but to me, you put him at guard, and he's a first-day starting guard, and he's going to be really, really solid. But he's a guy that, like an Alex Lewis from the Baltimore Ravens. If you're a Ravens fan, you know who Alex Lewis is. He was a left tackle from Nebraska that when the Ravens drafted him, he turned into a guard. Now, it seems like this year he will be going back to tackle. It won't be left tackle, it'll be right tackle. But with Connor Williams, he's that guy that will probably be a great guard in this league, but can still swing and play both left tackle and right tackle. And that's what I see when I look at Connor Williams as an Alex Lewis. He's a pretty good player, and his athleticism is what's put him on the map as being a left tackle prospect in the league. Especially the year before where Connor was actually pretty good. But I would say I should have put him in the guard list, but I say, you know what? I think he is still good enough to play tackle, so I'm going to keep him on that list. But it's a so-so thing because I think that he will definitely make a better guard than he would make tackle. Anyway, when I look at the best names or the best players on this list, Actually, no, I'm sorry. I just missed one. Martinez rankings. Now, I'm kind of like big on him, but I'm kind of not. I think he's a pretty good player. He's a guy that can make some, can be a pretty good blocker in this league, but I'm a little so-so on him too. When I look at him, I see a guy that will make a good guard as well. I see the same thing with Carter Williams. Now, Martinez is not as athletic as Williams, but that's why I think he could make a pretty good guard. But I didn't want to put his name in the guard list because I think that he could be a day one starter at right tackle, and that's why I have him on that so-so list. Now. When it comes to the best list, I'm going to name a player that I think is very underrated first before I get to the best list. And that is Joseph Noteboom from TCU. I literally just watched tape on this dude. Excuse me for standing up. I had to get something real quick. I just watched tape on this guy. And when you talk about pure pass blocker, this guy's one of the best pure pass blockers I've seen. I mean, it was hard for defensive ends to get around him. He was shutting guys down. He looked really, really good. And I think that he's an underrated guy that won't get drafted in the first 3 rounds and may be a 4th, 5th, or 6th rounder. And if you get him and you really do need a tackle or your tackle gets hurt and then he comes in, you're not going to miss a beat because this guy has talent. Now, the only thing I can't explain about these players is their intellect. So if a guy is not smart enough to play the position, that's one thing. But I know it technique-wise, it's just blocking-wise, I know that these guys are going to be pretty good in the league. Now, when it comes to these next 2 names on the list of the best prospects that I've seen, pretty much in this in the NFL draft is and these 2 guys actually have something in common with Joe Noteboom. And that is they ran sub-5s in the 40-yard dash. Now, 40-yard dash for offensive linemen is not important. I don't think 40-yard dashes is important as much. But what I will say is that to show the athleticism for all of them to have ran under 5 seconds, it was kind of like, whoa, that's kind of weird, but hey, I mean, the simple fact is that these guys are probably the best tackle prospects to me says a lot. And that is, one name is Brian O'Neill from Pitt. Now, this is a guy that I recently just really, looked at. Mel Kiper was on this guy, and he had the Ravens picking him at 16, and people was like, what the heck? What are you thinking? But I look at it now, this dude can play. And the Ravens don't need a left tackle, so it doesn't make sense. They made right tackle, but I don't think that makes sense neither, especially the recent moves that they made when it comes to the offensive line. But with Brian O'Neill from Pitt, this guy, to me, is probably the best left tackle prospect in this draft because of his pass blocking skills. Now, as a run blocker, he still needs the help. But as a pass blocker, I mean, you can't get better than Brian O'Neill. And like I said, he ran a sub-5, so maybe that has something to do with him as being a left tackle and his athleticism. He used to play tight end. But this guy, I mean, it's amazing what I saw. I didn't think he would be that good, and he is. The next name on the list is Colton Miller from UCLA. This dude, same things. Ran sub 4.5. I say 4.5. Ran a sub 5. And this dude, I mean, as a pass blocker, as a run blocker, he had it all. I mean, he could run block pretty well, but his pass blocking was really, really good. Just like Joe Noteboom, just like Brian O'Neill, all 3 of them were great pass blockers. And like I said, that's the most important thing for a left tackle. Because I can teach you how to run block a little bit better than teaching a guy how to try to pass block. It's easier to teach him how to run block. Pass blocking is a natural technique that you just got to get. Run blocking is something that you need to get stronger at. There's technique to it, but it's easier to teach that, I think, in the NFL than the pass blocking. If you come in and you're already a good pass blocker, you're going to make it in this league because this league is turned to a passing league. So pass blocking is the most important thing for an offensive lineman. But anyway, when it comes to all of those names that I just named, the so-so names and the best prospects, putting all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 names out there. These are the guys that I think will definitely have a chance in this league. Now, The next names I'm going to name on this list are just guys. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but these are guys that I think that needs work when it comes to them being left tackle prospects. But most of them will probably be right tackles, better at right tackles in the NFL. And like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to just name the names. I'm not going to sit there and say why. But Chuck Wuma, I don't know how to say his name as well, but he's from Western Michigan. Tall guy, right tackle. Desmond Harrison from West Georgia. To me, same thing as the Western Michigan guy. A big guy, probably make a good right tackle, probably not left tackle. And it mostly because of their feet. Terrell Crosby, it's hard to really judge him because of that Oregon offense was so bad. And I'm not talking about bad like they had a bad offense, but just the scheme was so bad I couldn't tell. But he's a guy that has athleticism, so we'll see. Brandon Parker from North Carolina A&T, another big guy that will probably make a better right tackle than he would being a left tackle. Jamarco Jones, I say that guy, his feet are pretty bad. Probably have to put him on the right side, and he's from Ohio State. Okay guy. And Casey McDermott is a guy from Miami that, to me, he's not a tackle at all. He's probably would be at guard. But I saw some stuff that I wasn't really a fan of, and that's why I have to put him on the list of he just needs work. But anyway, those are my top offensive tackle prospects in the NFL draft, and also the ones that I think that needs work. If you like this video, please subscribe so you can see more videos like this of other prospects that I talk about. If you don't like what I had to say about a player, or you want to mention a player that I didn't mention at all, please comment so we can debate about it. Please share the video so other people can join